FTM actually stands for female to male. Pretty much the book definition for it is gender identity. The gender identity is not just sexual identity. It's not who you see yourself sleeping with. It's actually who you see yourself as. So that's what
male or female. So with FTM, kind of explain that with your journey as far as transitioning.
Well, personally, for my journey, I feel like it started as early as 5. I knew at 5 years old, probably even earlier, that I didn't like anything from you. I didn't want to do anything.
No Barbies.
No Barbies, no dolls. I used to even cry when my mom put on dresses for church. I mean, I did not want to wear a dress. I always wore shorts underneath my dress. But at 5 years old, of course, you don't know, okay, I can change my sex. I went through my teens. Unfortunately, I was the first one in my neighborhood to develop, and that was a horrible experience as itself. At that point, I had my first girlfriend, so I said, okay, maybe I'm just a lesbian, maybe I'm just gay. I went to college, and my best friend in college introduced me to the club scene in Philadelphia. And after that, then I went to the barroom scene, and that's when I saw butch lesbians. So I'm like, okay, that's more like me, where I want to be. Let me cut my hair off, okay? Even with that, I still didn't feel like myself. It wasn't until years later when I did more research where I realized, oh, okay, this is where I want to be, this is where I want to look. And maybe about 8 years ago, I looked into having top surgery done.
And kind of, what is top surgery? What do you mean?
Top surgery is where you have your breasts totally removed. They even remove your nipples at that point and realign them. Realign your whole chest to look more like a man's chest.
Why do you think trans men are not as visible in the greater queer community?
Well, really, it's different ways to answer that. For one, is the greater queer community doesn't understand. And it blows my mind because trans women are totally accepted within the community, but trans men, for some reason, we're not. Also, it's the education of the greater queer community to understand that this is not a fad for us, it's a lifestyle. For most of us, it's the difference between life or death. And then as far as the trans men, a lot of times once we come out, we might have a bad experience, a couple of bad experiences, we say no more. But a lot of us just choose to live a more of a heterosexual lifestyle than being in the community altogether.
What are some of the obstacles that you faced as far as your transition?
Well, to me, the biggest obstacle for a lot of trans men is, for one, the financial part of it. A lot of this costs money, and unfortunately, medical insurance does not cover a lot of it, depending on what medical insurance you're with. The other one is, now I actually realize what my actual bio, and that's men that were born men, go through. My uncles went through it, my stepbrother went through it, my father, a lot of my male friends. But now I'm starting to experience a lot of that discrimination of being a black man.
What do you hope is gained by doing this interview?
I'm hoping that a lot of people actually start asking questions, not being too fearful. A lot of times when you have that fear turns into ignorance, that ignorance turns into prejudice, and it messes up the whole community altogether. 99% of the trans men will be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. If it's a question that's personal to them, they prefer not to answer, they'll tell you. But for the most part, you can get your answers. Until we have the internet, just about anything we want to know is right there on the internet at your fingertips.
So if there is one thing that you want to leave the viewers with, what would that be?
The one thing I will leave the viewer with is, learn to find the similarities versus the differences in each other. Look for the similarities. If we start searching for the similarities within each other, we can knock out so many isms. So sexism, racism, so many isms could be knocked down if we just start looking for, hey, you like jazz music, so do I. Oh, you have 3 kids, so do I. There's so many things that we have alike versus things we have different. And that's the one thing I hope changes with this internet.